So mostly for the littler guys, because the big guys got their own directors of development that are helping them get their resources.
Yeah.
Not to say that they still don't need.
Right. But you're trying to help like really small.
And offering the donor. So it's building up 2 networks of causes and donors.
Well, we probably to make it more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah.
So I sent the link to a friend of mine. I don't know if he'll make it on, but hopefully he will. He lives out in the suburbs, so I was like,
well, and you know, this is really going to be much more conversational, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the live chat.
Yeah.
But so how long have you been in development or?
So I legally like set up the entity in 2013. It's going on 6 years already. But then I just finally got out of private. Like I had full-time jobs and stuff like that then.
Were you in fundraising before?
No. I've always been like, I've done like bookkeeping, management, HR.
This is
run restaurants, really like so many different things. And I originally went to college for film. And
where'd you go to school?
I'm originally from Los Angeles, so I went to Loyola Marymount University.
My daughter just graduated CARPLS.
Oh, really? Nice.
It was like the gay pride parade.
Yeah.
The graduation. I was like, and my daughter was high.
Oh.
She looked very elegant. She was wearing like she was going Hollywood glam.
Yeah.
And we were like, could you not be stoned when you graduate? And she takes out this long whatever, and she blows smoke at me and she starts smiling. Yeah, but that's very.
That's still the age, right? You know, maybe she'll grow out of that.
Well, I know she won't.
No.
But no, CalArts is like, well, she also went to arts high school. So she's in dance, whatever.
And it's, you know, it's so funny. So like I did theater and yes, if you don't want to grab some. I went, you know, I was in theater in high school and like always into that. And then in college I switched over to film because I'm like, oh, you can reach such a bigger audience than just the people sitting in your audience. So too much. No, that's perfect. And then worked in Hollywood right away. And thank you so much. And I just, after 2 years, I was like, oh my God, this is not what I want to do. I'm like, I love you, Warner Brothers, but.
Yeah, Sophia wants to do Chicago theater.
Okay.
But she gets picked up for all these independent films, which she's not getting paid for anything, by the way. But she's like, she doesn't care.
She's loving what she's doing. Yeah.
Yes, and she plans to live with us forever, apparently. Okay. And she's a complete pill.
I'm just going to do a quick sweep to see if anybody's looking confused.
Yes. So, the guy at the front desk was very helpful. He gave very distinct directions.
He's so awesome.
Yeah.
Here Wednesday nights. So
it's even better.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to leave a note and tell people to text me. And then I'm like
running around.
Your sign in the hallway was helpful too. So that was
I'm sorry, I'm fascinated because you know I have a kid going through this.
Yeah. So for me, after 2 years, I was like, oh my God, like I don't want to do this. Like I don't like Hollywood and like, but I honestly, ever since I got into film, I always wanted to do video work for charities. You can tell a story for charities.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
You can learn so much.
We're gonna have to talk some more.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait.
Well, I'm very unstructured. I'm an artist kid. I'm not good at structure.
Yeah.
So I'm just making this all come to myself. Okay. And what are some of the pitfalls we've had? What have I learned from not coming from a communications background, but a fundraising background?
Because you're a director of development now
at a small legal aid, and legal aid has, you know, it has its own kind of way that it works.
Yeah.
Its own tribe. Yeah. Because almost all of our board are lawyers, and they refer to everybody else as non-lawyers, and I'm like, you're a profession and not a culture, but you seem to think you are.
Yeah.
And it's a tribe that I love because no one wastes your time. So
it says we have one viewer.
Oh, we do.
So,
well,
hi
viewer.
Hi viewer.
Turn on your camera.
We'd love for you to participate.
Like creepy.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's so funny. So I'm thinking when we get started, you know, we'll talk about what each.
I think I got here just a little, or am I right on time? I think I got here a little early.
Technically, like the actual program is scheduled to start at 7.
Yeah.
So you're
going to do a networking at 6:30.
Right.
Oh, so we're now okay.
Yeah.
So
during this time, when I'm running around setting up the refreshments, to write out what's coming up, And so.
Well, and so I have a friend who
I
has
got your first name up.
my last name is such a, it's very long.
Yeah, it is very long.
Yeah.
So-
What is your last name?
Pietrkowski.
Okay, is that how you spell it?
Well,
And-
I say it the American way. It used to have a Y in the middle. That's been taken out, so completely throws everyone off. But they're Polish Jews. They came in the 60s, so it's a very small. There are not many Polish Jews, first off, and then even fewer that would be alive at this point from the country.
Yeah.
So my husband, I couldn't not take the name in that family. You just can't.
Yeah.
Completely chauvinistic,
Yeah.
That's okay.
Pride is there in them,
Whatever.
Yeah.
I told my husband, you're gonna have to cook dinner. What? Me? Yeah.
This is a
whatever.
partnership, honey. Partnership.
Yeah. I do laundry. Isn't that enough?
Yeah.
So you made videos, tell stories for charity.
So I've always wanted to do that. And so like once Hollywood, I was just frustrated, and it's just, there's so many unions, and it's very, I try to be a very authentic person, and there's not a ton of authentic people, and I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, so I'm not calling Los Angeles bad, but just the industry, it feeds into egos.
It uses you up and spits you out. At least with lawyers, there's the next fight. So it's a different kind of ego. Yeah, there's plenty of ego there too. Yeah,
true. And in a lot of industries there are, but I just found, again, and you start out as a production assistant, so you're the first one there and the last one leaving. It's long hours, and you're getting zero, little pay, and it was a great experience. And I did truly work with some incredibly wonderful people, and I will say there are some mega stars in Hollywood that absolutely deserve their fame. Like they are the nicest people ever, and I'm like, people should know how nice you are. Like, tabloids are stupid. Like, come on. But I knew that wasn't it, and so I flopped around because it's like, well, crap, what do I do now? Like, I wanted to be in Hollywood. I did Hollywood, and now I'm like,
I find it so interesting because I'm watching my kids.
Yeah. And that's how then I went to be a waitress, and then I started doing party planning, and then I started doing books for restaurants, and then I just had friends who were a lot of entrepreneurs, so like I would help them out starting their businesses. I worked at NASA at JPL for a while, which I love. I was a huge space nerd. Did that, and then I ended up moving back to Chicago soon after I got out of college, after like those 2 years when I'm like, I just want to break from Hollywood. So I had a cousin.
But at least you made it.
Yeah, I feel very, very grateful. My first job was Warner Brothers, like out of college. Like I was so fortunate now.
Sophia's excited for her $100 gig to work at a night in a haunted whatever.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're like, hey, whatever.
If she's happy, money doesn't. Granted, you need money to pay the bills.
Right. Well, she gets up. She works at Starbucks at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Like 4 days a week. Then she's doing another job, and she's doing another job on top of that. And then she's like, "There's no day I'm not productive. I have so many auditions." She's been getting a lot of them.
Nice.
And so she comes off as being really sweet, and I'm like, "You're just a bitch on wheels." But it's
so
perfect.
Is she an actress or is she?
She's an actress.
Okay.
She's also devised. Her main thing is devised theater.
Okay. What is that exactly?
That's a good question. She would say that I didn't understand. So I'm going to explain it to you from my perspective, which is that the actors work collaboratively to develop a piece. So for instance, she just did a piece on sexual assault with another young woman that she went to high school with, who's been doing studies on this and was actually a victim of it. And then Sophia wrote it with her and then directed a young woman who was in it for Clever Action. I don't know if you know that theater. And when the young woman did the piece, it was showing her on the CTA and how she was dealing with the trauma of being reminded that she had survived rape. Mm-hmm. And it ended up, where at the end they said, "We support you, we love you." And so 2 women in the audience started basically crying and saying, we just feel so embraced.
Yeah.
And so this was a piece that, you know, my kid had shaped. And when I
Yeah.
saw it, I was like, so CalArts does teach you something.
Yeah.
Besides smoking and swimming
Yeah.
naked in their pool with the duck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm an artist kid, and I thought this school is really far out,
Yeah.
even by what I grew up knowing.
Yeah.
So she's very social justice oriented. She's
Okay.
devised a piece on her grandfather's Holocaust experience. He was one of those who couldn't discuss what he went through.
Okay.
Most really can't, and then you have a few who are really good at talking about it.
Yeah.
And he died about 2 years ago.
Mm.
So she went, so going to CalArts, you have people teaching like James Franco, and as well as other really established people.
Mhm.
And one of them was the guy who did the documentary on O.J. Simpson.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and he.
I've only seen part of that, but it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I
I
fell
want to
asleep.
see the rest of it.
Yeah, my husband watched it. He said it was outstanding. So this guy had taught a class, and he had the kids who had devised their pieces come back and perform it. And she got a chance to do her piece, and she was like, "Do I go to Hollywood or do I go to Lollapalooza?" I said, "You go to Hollywood, dumbass."
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was like,
She's like, but you're going to gain
"Yeah,
that much more.
exactly." So she's very funny. She's definitely an only child,
Okay.
you know, lawyer's kid.
Yeah.
And you would almost think she's a North Shore kid, but she lives in Rogers Park, so she doesn't quite qualify. But is, you know, hardworking. I mean,
With the proud mom, I can see.
I'm proud, but I know there's an ego there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have it. She's like, I don't care.
Which is good. I mean, you have to have thick skin. I
Oh,
mean, your ego's
yeah.
gonna get knocked out
Yeah.
quickly. I mean, I would hope that her ego comes along with some compassion and not like, oh, I'm so cool. Because honestly, that's what turns me away. And I'm like, this is the one thing. So I obviously live here in Chicago. I've been here 11 years with a year back in 2002. So 12 years total being here. And my biggest thing with Los Angeles, again, my family's still there, so I go out all the time to go visit. But it's the egos, and it's always the people who aren't from Los Angeles are the ones with the biggest egos, because they go out there, I feel like, pretending like they have to be something or act a certain way. And I'm like, dude, just be yourself. Like, come on.
That's what I say about fundraising.
Yeah.
Is you have to just be authentic, and I say the same thing about messaging.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it applies to everything in life.
It
Just
really
be authentic,
does.
You know?
You know, and if quirky,
Yeah.
bad name of the organization, maybe that's something you embrace.
Because that's who you're gonna draw to you, and that's who you want to be supporting you.
Yeah.
The people that
Yeah.
align with you.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
But my dad was a printmaker and taught at university, so I knew what it was, and I got into Northwestern voice. Immediately changed my major,
Okay.
but I understand the artistic process.
Yeah.
Which, as Sophia says, you don't understand. Or I think, could you recycle the cans? You don't understand. Recycling doesn't really work. I have a minor in environmental science from CalArts. I was like, yeah, you never wrote a paper.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll go there.
Again, I don't want to say that's a phase, because you get out of college and you're all like, oh, I'm badass, I'm awesome, I know everything, you know? And then you hit the real world and you're like, oh, I still have some things to learn.
Oh,
you know?
it's hilarious. I mean, so when she comes home, she's like, my back is hurting. I'm like, well, here, I'll massage it. Oh, you made it feel worse. And then she's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, here's some food. She's like, oh. And she comes right to bed. She's got to get up at 4 a.m. And I'm like, you're just horrible. I mean, how do you even take that seriously?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Rub your own back next time, lady.
Exactly. It's like, you made it worse. But, you know, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
But, you know, part of it, millennial entitlement.
Yes.
And that's what I'm finding.
Yes.
I'm working on another board.
My last job, so I quit all my jobs a year ago, almost exactly, and I took a good chunk of personal time, and now I'm obviously working on my charity now. And but I was an HR director at a tech company here in Chicago, and oh my God, millennials are a very real thing. When a majority of the meetings that HR is called for, I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you. This is an honest meeting that someone asked me to have. They were so upset Diet Cokes ran out every day.
Oh goodness, that's funny.
I'm like, then go bring some. Well, no, you guys we're supposed to have it here. Like, I can't do my job without my Diet Coke. And I'm like, oh my God, you're taking up my time
Yeah.
to discuss Diet Coke. Are you kidding me?
That's
Just go do your job.
Yeah.
Just do your job, please.
Yeah.
You know?
Before I throw a can again.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, I can get sued for that. No,
Yeah.
we didn't hear that.
Oh my God. And yes, like you have to handle it appropriately and take their concern as a real thing. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I can't do this job.
Well,
anymore.
I had to explain to someone that you have to give 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Unless there's, it depends on the
Honestly,
industry.
you don't.
But
You don't. Legally,
You don't.
You don't.
you don't,
No, yeah.
but if you value your
Yeah,
reputation and
correct.
profit, you do.
Correct. And both ways. Like some
Yeah.
employers want to just fire you. Okay, you can leave now. It's like you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. Give that courtesy. And,
Well, I was at a nonprofit that was in financial trouble years ago.
Yeah.
And they told everyone, don't worry, we're going to let some people go. And they told us a month ahead of time.
Mm.
And then when they decided who they were going to let go, they did it in a way that was very undignified. The people who had been there 30 years were just very sweet-natured people. And they're like, grab your box and had somebody watch it. And I'm like, yeah,
ouch.
no. So we had this impending doom, and then we had the doom, and it was terrible.
That's not good.
No, and there are ways to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That are 10,000 times better.
Oh
than
yeah,
that.
oh yeah. So
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, but the millennials too. I mean, they're obviously the next phase of the workforce. Like it'll.
and in some ways, I admire that they put some boundaries around things that I never did. I always worked my ass off and just work until I get it done.
Yeah.
At the expense of my kid.
Yeah.
I work in the legal industry. I have female lawyers who say I have to go home to my kid now.
Yeah.
And I talked to one woman who has she has a set of triplets and a set of twins. And her husband is a stay-at-home dad. She said, I have to remind myself that it's a good thing.
Yeah.
The man says I want to go home.
Yeah.
But for women, we'll tend to work late.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm
Why
finding.
I would work till 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes just because I'm like, oh, it's quiet time. Everyone's out of here, and I'm like,
Oh, that's my
Are you
husband's
kidding me?
favorite time. My husband, he was like, I think he just wanted to be a teenage boy the rest of his life. He would, because he was working with people in California at the firm, so he would work till like 2 a.m. He'd get in whatever he wanted.
yeah.
And so he would sit at his desk from like 11 till 2. It's easy.
Yeah. Who's online?
Yeah,
Who's
I'm not
there?
sure. I'm not sure. It might be Eli from Canada.
Hi, Eli,
Or
Canada.
your friend.
Yeah. Bill, is that you? Text me if it is.
Well, at least you know it's boring. We won't be boring.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who asked me to come and talk about fundraising, but I'm so irreverent that I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? And these are for people starting nonprofits. I don't know if you're familiar with, you probably didn't use them, but they have this acronym that's impossible, but they work with nonprofits with certain services to help them get established or other governance issues.
Okay.
And then they do a training and then you sign up for the training. It's a nice little
Who is
thing.
that? I would love to know.
Well, the person who does this, her name is Erica Spangler-Rez.
Oh, familiar.
That's the link that I put on your.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
At the law, they used to be called the Law Project, and now
Yes.
it calls me on. Yes, I actually did that 5 years ago. And Bill, who is here, he says, "Hey, using PC, no microphone, going to try cell phone link." So, hi, Bill. He just took it also. And it is helpful. I was going to respond to you saying, "Hey, I've heard of this. This is good."
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
Erica
actually never
heard.
heard of it until this. And I guess my co-organizers know the person that does the small business, the
It's
people that do
Erica
tech
Spangler-Rez.
Thursdays.
Okay.
It's somebody else on the website.
Okay.
He said, "Is it Angie?" I'm like, I'll
That's
find
okay.
out.
Don't
I'll find
worry
out.
about
Like
it.
Brian.
Their
So-
program is like $150, and you get it helps you go through the setup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But when she brings me in only once a year, which is probably more than she should.
Yeah.
I pretty much just give my version.
My one question that I still have from that, and I asked Bill.
Angie Hall.
I
Is,
don't know her, but that's okay. I mean,
yeah, she
Erica
does
used to
small
work for
business. She
CARPLS.
does small business consulting.
Ah, okay.
That's-
So Erica
so it's
used
the
to work
same
at my
group,
agency,
but-
and then she went full time. And she is the queen of board governance issues. When I have questions, I call her, and she knows what she's doing.
It's handy to always know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always know a lawyer for something. It's
Yeah.
like what I do.
You're the lawyer whisperer, like, hey, go to this person.
Yeah, you know
Person,
what?
go to this
I like that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell them tomorrow that the word was her. Don't laugh at me.
Say about her though, about the program.
Well, I think it's a really good program
Yeah.
because she kind of walks you through the basics and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, do you belong to Forefront?
No, Bill. Again, Bill, hi. I know you're listening. He is part of it, and so I went
that's
to there.
very
He went with
valuable.
me there. So for me at this point, like I'm not looking for any grants, and I think they're majority helpful for grants.
That's not all they're helpful.
Okay.
They're also helpful with advocacy for nonprofits in terms of telling what the rules are. They bring foundations together
Okay.
with nonprofits to deal with what are some of the issues in the community, like diversity, equity, and inclusion is the big thing, of course, in a city full of segregation, so it's not working very well, but whatever. They are very issue-oriented, and it's a great way to meet other nonprofits.
Excellent. So Bill is actually, so he goes there and uses them as a resource. So I'm an organizer of another, so I just started the Founders Leaders, nonprofit Founders and Leaders on Meetup, but there's also another group called Nonprofit Networking Group that has like 500 plus members that I took over in like the beginning of June. So I'm still going, but that audience I have found is very much of a mix of some
What is it?
founders, Nonprofit Networking Group. It's on Meetup. Join, please.
Yeah.
Because it's speakers, so I'm always looking for speakers. So that, and in that group, I found that it was, again, there were people who work at nonprofits in all different levels, people who just want to volunteer, and then businesses who like want to sell their services to things. So I just started the Founders Leaders because I, as a founder and leader, I'm like, I want to build a community where we can help each other. So Bill is also a founder and starting up his thing, and we're like, it would be so awesome if there was more resources, more people to bounce ideas off of and stuff. So that's why I just started that one. So for that one, since I literally just last weekend started this new one, and that's why I'm so happy to have met you.
Yeah. So like she made me fill out this form.
I reserved the room at 7.
Quaker?
Yes.
Tonight?
Yes.
I should have it from 6:30 to 8:30.
Are you sure? I said it's reserved from 7 to 9.
All right, let's go.
Shouldn't have. I mean, like if you want to have some minutes like that, I can wait a little.
Let's see.
So Bill's saying that he tried the cell phone here, but but the PC is better. I wonder if he wants to call. Are we able to use the phone? If we did a
Yes, you can.
phone.
You should be able to tell it.
After they figure out the rules.
Yes.
Got it? Since I got it.
So you have the confirmation?
Yeah, right.
I should have this room.
Do you have?
I should have it. Is this one?
I don't think you can reserve.
6:30 to 8:30 p.m. October 10. This is Quaker.
That's strange.
Let's go. Let's go talk to reception.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you have it in the morning, 7 a.m.
Oh,
to
shoot.
9 a.m.
Darn it.
Let's see.
All right.
Well, at least you got an answer.
Yeah, right. All right, that's fine.
Is there other rooms you can use though? How does
Yeah,
that work?
No, I mean, yeah. I'm probably gonna see if in any other room opens, I can reserve it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And
Good luck,
if
good luck.
come back, let us know, because right now it looks like it's just the 3 of us, so we can probably move somewhere.
Oh no, I mean,
Okay.
I have just another friend, but if 2 or 3 of you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, that dispute went well.
So,
A&P was a big difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I was like, I reserved this room a month ago. Like I have to do this, and like I because I just reserved November, reserved this for November.
Gotcha.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know,
For
and
sure.
I know to pay attention.
So,
to AM.
I wonder if we can call out. Bill said that he would like to
That would
call
be
in,
great.
then he can-
That would be fun. So now, I'd love to. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have. You know what? If we have to, should we just use our cell phone?
Could do that if the speaker's all right. All right. Go.
It's right here.
And then if one runs out, we'll just do next.
There should be outlets as well. I have there's right here, micro charger. Yeah.
We'll be fine. I'm fully powered. Hello, sir. Do you mind if I put you on speaker? All right, here we
It's
go.
so fun. I don't use this very often. It's so novel to you. Like, see
All right,
yourself.
can you hear us? Okay, there's a phone here as well, but it's not powered on, so I'm gonna try my cell phone here for a little bit. So
Yeah.
let us know if it's not clear
Or
or.
if you need us to talk louder.
Yeah, and I'm gonna close the door, so that should eliminate some background noise.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the phone doesn't allow you access to our treats, so we can't feed you or ply you with iced tea.
I'll eat double for you, okay, Beth?
Are you hungry now?
I'll have the little snack pack that you got there.
Which one?
Little,
Milk chocolate covered pretzels.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Different variety. Oh my
So,
gosh. Because I wasn't sure who was coming here. So this
I'll
way
share this with everybody that's here.
I'll help you. It's late. I'll eat almost anything.
And I'm gonna grab the crackers too.
Perfect. So, all right. Well, this will be nice because this will just be really. I just wanted to have a conversation. I just thought, you know, we'll learn from each other, and maybe if there's something you guys have questions about from that we can expand. I think Joe, why don't we start with you since you're our guinea pig over the phone? What is your nonprofit?
The nonprofit is called Teaching Work Skills.
And what's the focus, the mission?
The focus is to teach systems of domestic and sexual home repair and maintenance skills.
I'm just taking notes so I can ask you questions.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, and what was it called again?
TeachingWorkSkills.org.
Teaching. That's the name of the organization.
Works
Yes, that's, well, the TeachingWorkSkills.org is the website. Teaching Work Skills, parenthesis TWS, is the official nonprofit corporation registered in the state of Illinois.
And how did you decide who the audience would be? And I don't want to be too personal, so if
I've asked them all these questions before.
It's a good question.
Sorry.
I have 20 plus years in working and have developed these skills over a large period of time. And I thought this would be a good group to teach these skills with the opportunity to provide them with an opportunity to learn, increase their baseline knowledge, give them some self-sufficiency and independence, give them perhaps a sense of accomplishment and being able to learn these skills to improve their surroundings or that of others, with the opportunities to earn money while they're working. They can have some fun. Additionally, if it works out for them, then we're going to be able to offer them career paths through organizations like Women in Trades, where they have already set up apprenticeship programs for the different units.
So, okay. So I'm just going to ask you questions, and also what you're hoping to gain out of our conversation. I want to make sure that I can be helpful. So how do you find the people that you help?
I would imagine, well, there's 64 different domestic abuse agencies, domestic violence agencies in Illinois. Many of them, or most of them, are concentrated in the northern Illinois section. There are certainly a number of rape, sexual violence agencies as well. There are a few human trafficking agencies, and so the information will be given to them. I've already talked to a few agencies, and the interest is there, and so now it's just a matter of getting going, filling out my 1023, and moving forward.
Do you have people that have, well, let me take a step back. Are you finding that there's a relationship between people who escape domestic abuse and the need to find employment, to find gainful, skilled employment?
Yes.
Okay.
In talking to, I forget the woman's name from the Illinois chapter in Springfield, there were 43,000 adults and 8,000 children sought services in Illinois. That's only 42 of the 62 reporting agencies. Of those 43,000, 8 to 9% generally look for additional services in the areas of economics, education, and employment. So 8 or 9% of 43,000 is up to what? A number of people.
Let's just say 10%. That's like what, 4,800, 5,000. So maybe
Correct.
5,000 is.
Correct.
And is there like a general age range? Is there a general education level? The reason where I'm going is I'm trying to figure out your target audience and how you're able to get to them. Because I find that with nonprofits, there's a lot of relationship building, and you certainly know your case. And I'm wondering, in terms of, communicating your mission and who you're getting to, where do you think your challenges will be?
Funding, for one, I found out the WIOA agency, or the federal agency, they don't give out funding for training until after your organization has been in existence for at least a year. So while I thought that might have been one early possibility, I found out recently it is not. So I'm looking into that a little bit more. So funding is an issue. I understand the question. I'm really not concerned. Maybe I'm being naive, but I think once the program gets started and I'm able to actually talk to the agencies and show them the website that's finished, I think word of mouth will generate interest pretty quickly. I'm actually more concerned about getting the work than I am about the number of students who would be interested in enrolling.
And so in terms of, and you're based in Northern Illinois?
Carroll Stream, Illinois.
Okay. And so.
Which makes it difficult to type in Meetup groups because I have to constantly flip up to 50 now, which is close to 20.
Well, when you live that far out, that's not a big deal. So I'm just thinking about this, and I've had only a little sleep, so I'm going to jump all over the place. So in terms of the other domestic violence providers, they see a need to have people find gainful employment, and this would be a good opportunity. There's probably other referral places that you'll run into through your networking. In terms of contracting, is it a matter of looking for places that are interested in hiring women, though, because of with your mission? Is it a matter of where do you think your inroads are going to come from? Because people want good work. They don't really care if the people are benefiting from it. So how do you make that, jump that bridge?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So if the challenge is to find work for them in the first, to find contract jobs, how are you marketing those contract jobs?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because people don't really care if the people that you have working for you are domestic violence survivors. Maybe a few, but when people are thinking about the contracts that they want, they just want to know that they're going to get good work. So where do you see the contracts coming from? Is it potentially government contracts where they have to do RFPs for women, and even though you're not a women business owner, that your mission is to probably help people that are primarily women, right?
Well, yes, 85% of the domestic violence victims are women. The percentage with sexual assault is even higher in, as well as with the human trafficking victims. So yes, most of the students, as I refer to them as, they're going to be women, correct. In terms of where I'm going to get to work, no, I'm not really looking at government contracts at this time. I'm thinking that the agencies involved in these particular areas will be able to provide some work for me with either in their shelters or their safe homes, and word of mouth from that will continue to show that we can provide work. Additionally, there's a couple of different parts here that I haven't really gone over. Because of the safety issue involved, the volunteers that are going to be instructing in the women-owned businesses and the handyman rehabbers need to be A, vetted, and B, interviewed so they fully understand what the process is and what we're trying to do. Handymen and rehabbers by themselves have their own jobs. They already have the work. So I'm not concerned about whether or not they're going to be providing work. They have their own work, and we'll be able to match up certain students with them, and the students then can work on their job sites. So that takes care of part of it. And the other part would be, where do I supply the work for the volunteers? And while you mentioned people are concerned about the overall quality of the work being done in their homes, again, I may be naive, but I think the possibility of them being able to have a contractor bring in victims who are now victim survivors and are now students to help them train, I think that's a powerful message. And I think if you're again, I may be naive, but I think there are a number of people out in the northern Illinois area who would love the opportunity to help in that respect.
How do you preserve their confidentiality?
Honestly, like Bill, I don't even think like you could advertise, because we talked previously at another meeting that like maybe Bill could start like an offshoot company that is, hey, we're, you know, the helping hands, whatever, like their own company, but which would advertise that, hey, these are empowered women who are now doing things after coming out of this. But they could also get hired on by other people who don't even know that, like, they don't have, I mean, that may be something they don't want to broadcast. So the confidentiality there.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because I'm, you know, and I'm not a lawyer, but I work with lawyers. So I tend to think in terms of, you know.
We ruin everything. We
yeah,
destroy the world.
yeah. Well, in terms of messaging, that confidentiality issue and the opportunities to find work issue, you know, the communication of how you talk about that is something that you really want to think about very carefully. I think it's a very compelling mission. And I do believe people want to help people become empowered, and they don't really understand. It's not well understood how displacing it is when someone has to escape a domestic violence situation. So it's not just getting out of it, which has taken them a really, really long time to do. Sometimes I think someone talked from Shalva, which is a Jewish battered women's organization. It takes up to 7 times if they can get out. There's all kinds of financial and legal repercussions. So having something to go back and train and, you know, get some new skills in something that's considered traditionally masculine has a really empowering feel to it, particularly in the craziness that we're seeing here. I think that you've got to really think through the troubleshooting of how you talk about the messaging and how you market the services.
And Bill, wait, hang on really quick. Bill, you shared too that like some of the women or the students that come through don't necessarily have to go on and do that as a profession, but then they themselves, as they move on in their life, they have those skills. They don't have to rely on the man to come fix their toilet.
That's
to
right.
Do their sink, to do all that stuff. Right, Bill, you had shared that as well. So it could just simply be to give them the confidence. Yeah, teaching them life skills, yes. Right, Bill?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So I think you have a lot of really beautiful
Things that you can pull together.
that
And can I just, one of the things that is available through TechSoup is a service called Grant Station, and it like pulls together information on grants. And I was subscribed to it for my church, and I was kind of thinking about something along the lines of what it is that you're doing. And so here's the idea that I had, and based on what I was looking at in terms of what grants were available, places like Lowe's and Home Depot will give you like, you know, things up to cash value, right? Though, and Lowe's was saying that if you go in and talk to your local Lowe's with the managers, you might actually be able to work out, you know, some kind of donation for, you know, the tools and supplies that you need through Lowe's. So that's one way that you might be able to start, you know, securing some of what it is that you need on a donations basis. And the other suggestion that I had was looking at the City of Chicago's website. Some of what it is that they do, they have a grant program for low-income households to weatherize their homes. And for people with disabilities, they will give grants to make their homes ADA compliant to keep them in their homes. So what I was thinking was through my church that maybe what we could do is, you know, more for veterans than necessarily for domestic violence victims, but the same kind of principle that if we could be a broker for, you know, low-income homeowners in our neighborhood to help them, you know, stay in their homes by reducing their utility bills and providing skills to veterans, you know, to as they learn to weatherize homes, you know, it would teach them job skills, potentially give them a business that they could go into, or if we could start it as a nonprofit business, they could potentially learn like how to market a handyman service or how to do accounting for a handyman service. So then it wouldn't necessarily just be about the handyman skills. It could develop other skills and give them other paths to independence. So that's, I'm not saying that that necessarily is the way you should go, but it might be a way that you could narrow your scope, get grant money from other people, and People's Gas and Utilities also provide grant money for these types of programs. So those are sources for you. And I don't know if you find that helpful or not. You can disregard anything that I just said, but that was like my idea of a program that could work.
And the other thing is that I think you need an initial partner, and maybe it's even going for a grant together to create a pilot program. Because I don't know that you've had a chance to do a pilot program with this, but I think it's a really compelling thing that I've never heard of a domestic violence agency thinking about, because they're usually just thinking about the crisis.
Right. Yeah.
So if you have someone that you've talked to that is interested in this, is there an opportunity to create a pilot program, and how do you message that, right?
Who would the partner be? What do you mean partner with somebody?
Well, he was saying that he had talked to organizations that were interested in making referrals of clients this training program. So I'm suggesting that maybe it's an opportunity to create a pilot, show that it works, because the emphasis is usually on the crisis and not on the rebuilding, or it's kept so quiet that we maybe, you know, we just don't know what the rebuilding looks like.
And a potential partner for you is your local government. If you go, where did you say you live again?
Carroll Stream.
Carroll Stream. So, you know, go to your village, is it village? If it's not, whatever it is, go to your city government and talk to whoever it is that represents you and tell them you're a constituent and that this is the type of program that you're trying to build. And maybe you just start it locally in Carroll Stream to develop a pilot program. And, you know, politicians love these types of stories to be able to say that this is how it is that Carroll Stream is, you know, helping women rebuild their lives.
But I would definitely think about the messaging. That's the most important thing, not just the 30-second, you know, and you know all your facts and figures. I think in terms of talking about the need, the economic and psychosocial need for what this program can do and how it's an unmet need, and with a small investment to get started, and if you can do it in terms of a pilot program, then I think you can build from there. I mean, that's off the cuff.
Are there any agencies near you, Bill?
Yes, I actually had talked to one this afternoon about what I'm doing, and they're going to look into just what was suggested, perhaps getting together and running something similar to a pilot program to see if my ideas can help their victim survivors become students.
And I have a question, which is, are you talking to any job placement agencies? How often does this come up? Is this an ignored issue, which I bet it is? Or is it that the fact that people have undergone trauma, have to rebuild their lives, and
need help building career skills.
Right. So, because that, to me, I don't know how much job placement domestic violence shelters do, because they're just trying to get someone out of the situation.
Yeah.
And
so
when I
I'm
volunteered for CARPLS, like the single biggest thing was people needed housing. Like a lot of the people that I talked to on the hotline, they were facing eviction from their homes, and it's, they're like, they need housing.
Well,
and it's a struggle. It's a struggle in the city.
And I heard about a case that came through where someone got out of the domestic violence situation, lived in a parent's home, the parent died, the home went into foreclosure, and she's like, oh my God, what do I do? I'm still on the list waiting for housing. And we were able to get her with an agency and help her get housing. So what I'm saying is that I think that the job training is a much needed benefit that gets lost in the process, because you're trying to just cover the housing, the food, and whatever, and making sure, if there are children, that things are intact. And so who are the other agencies or services that are a part of this? I would probably try to write this up as a proposal, like a concept of how exactly this works, why it works, because
of how all the pieces can fit together.
Because right now it's kind of has a big picture feel to it.
But it's just an island right now.
Yes. Yeah. And so if you were to go to an agency or go to the government or go to a church, I think that there's so many pieces to this in terms of talking to social workers.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that. I'm concerned about from what I've seen in terms of social services, there are lots of things that you have to cover that are people who've been through, tremendous amount of crisis.
And another thing, I wonder if there's any agencies out there that do, we were talking to Yael, who we just met, Bill, last week, because she wants to do housing for homeless people, because she's in real estate as well. And she's like, some of these houses that are sitting there empty, of talking to the owners of hey, what if we make this a rental until you're really ready to sell it, and have it be placement for people. Her specific thing is homeless, but I bet you anything there could be a tie-in and get agencies that need housing for people of domestic violence. And then it could be a double whammy, because it's not only will you house them, but they could then be part of the groups that are going into these vacant houses to help fix them up, so that other victims can then move in and stuff like that. So it could be a cool.
Because I think that there's a lot of steps before anyone would be ready for a job training program. And I think that any provider of these services would want to know how you address that. Because for many nonprofits to offer a service, it's lovely, but they're doing so much just to scrape by what they're doing, that they can't make it to the other side where they're making that referral. So the question is, where is really the right place? How do you show that you've really thought through all of this? And what's the final outcome that you're trying to get to? Because it is such a compelling mission, but it's also very, very complicated.
Correct.
So have we helped you? I hope the answer is yes.
Yes, this is the type of feedback that is necessary to move forward, and I certainly appreciate it. Excellent ideas all the way around. Thank you.
Oh, let me ask you another question.
And,
Who have you gotten on your board? Who are the kind of people that you've gotten on your board?
on my board right now,
Mm-hmm.
just family.
Mm-hmm. I figured. So my suggestion.
Bill just incorporated in August. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No judgment. I'm
Right.
just saying that's usually
Right,
what
But this is the perfect time
Yeah.
to get all this stuff
Yeah,
fleshed out.
yeah. But I, one of my thinking is that you probably the kind of technical assistance that you could use in addition to fundraising. That's everybody could use assistance with that. It's a social worker. It's a lawyer. It's are there a few people with the kind of expertise that can help you think about this that you could potentially recruit to the board, and you probably won't be raising much money at first, but that could help you get into the corners that you need to be. Because I think my reaction is that I think it's going to be really hard to get the referrals and the work. And so you've got to think about your communication, since that's what we're talking about tonight. You've got to troubleshoot through the whole process and see how you're going to prioritize setting this up, because there's so much to do that you just kind of need to lay it out, write a concept paper. It may not be pretty. Don't worry about it.
But just the timeline of like the process of when a person becomes a
Yes.
student and all the way to the end.
Yes.
Till they're,
What does the whole process look like? Have you had experience doing this before?
And you may have already done that, Bill, too.
And what is it that would be your 30-second elevator speech to this audience, to that audience, to that audience? And who are the people in your corner that you have to help you get to the next level?
All right.
And I'm sorry, I'm really good at throwing big picture at people, so I don't mean to make it sound bigger than it should be. I'm just trying to give you sort of a sense of what I think you want to think about in terms of your core mission, what you do, how you get it started, and I think it's a beautiful mission. I mean,
Yes.
it's really
Yes. Yeah. We applaud you.
yeah,
It's a good
yes.
niche that's
Oh.
that needs help.
yes, exactly.
Sorry, really quick.
So is that helpful, or am I just I don't want to frustrate you.
No, that was very helpful. A lot of good points and important notes in this outstanding information. And I disagree on a couple of points.
That's good.
I don't have the figures to back me up.
That's fine.
When I do, I will be more than happy to show you the progress that I've made. I understand the confidentiality concern. I think that it'd be something I'd have to talk to each individual student about. The work, I think there's plenty of work out there. And I don't think that's really going to be a problem. I do see other problems that you mentioned, other concerns. And because this is a work in progress, I fully understand a long way to go. And I'm sure you understand that
Pardon me.
I want it done yesterday.
Of course.
Definitely.
Of course, and there's always too much to do. And
this-
that's okay.
Yeah, this is a center for entrepreneurship. And if you go talk to anybody around here, that they're trying to build startup companies, obviously for-profit businesses, but they'll tell you it's the same thing. They might, and things just take longer.
And
it just takes longer. But if you get the help and you really think through your mission, think through who you're trying to help, who you're like this, and really there are a lot of resources here for tech companies. They put them through that similar type of process where you get feedback and critiques and other things, and it isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to help you think things through so that you really build the strongest nonprofit that you possibly can.
And if you disagree with me, all the better. Because you have to believe so much in your mission that there's no way you're not going to succeed. You know what I mean? You have to, because, you know, there are so many nonprofits that get started. I've heard people ask, well, what? Actually, I saw in Cranes, I was really mad when I saw it. Here in the state of Illinois, hadn't put through a budget for 2 years. So many of these nonprofits had died. And so people were creating mom and pop nonprofits to serve their neighborhoods. And Cranes had the audacity to say there's too many nonprofits out there. And my feeling is, if this person has set up a nonprofit that's serving just half a street, and it's serving
and it's doing something good.
And it's doing something good, and they're succeeding. And success is, you know, that is a gauge that only you can decide.
And
then
these
who
days,
is
this
to say
type of
that?
civic involvement, civic engagement, looking out for your neighbor, you know, caring for your neighborhood. These are all things that we need more of in this world.
Well, and I think we
more
have
people like you.
Yeah, well, I think we have a lot of it, but I don't. You know, I think that that it's very hard to get something started. So of course you have people like me who are like, well, but you got to think about this, you got to think about that. You know, have you thought about, you know, are there other examples of programs that you are emulating? Look at how they talk about their messaging, and you know, challenge the hell out of everyone, because that is how you will get this to work.
And one of the things you were asking me about, one of the things that I'm trying to get this place to do, because they do sometimes add on different types of programs here. Like they have a tech incubator for women-owned businesses. They have a tech incubator for Latinx businesses. They have Techstars. They have other types of things. They've just added something for food-based businesses. So I just sent our CEO a message, and I'm like, I'd really like it if we could maybe build a nonprofit, you know, incubator accelerator program.
Well, because nonprofit is business.
Right.
It is.
And
Bill and I talk about this all the time.
yeah, and you know, who's going to tell you?
and it builds
there's
jobs.
too many businesses?
Yeah.
No, Crane's not going to say that.
Yeah.
So I think,
This is probably a political campaign.
Oh,
Asking
yeah.
for money.
yeah. So
when you give ActBlue your information, like everybody calls you.
Can you explain? So I am, I guess, confused of what
What this is?
Yeah. Because I saw it, I was
point?
drawn to it because the title of this workshop came up, and I was like, oh, what is NetSquared? And in the description, I mean, it sounds like, I'll tell you what I got from it, and then I want to fully understand more, is that it's, so you're techie.
This is good feedback for Eli. Eli writes the messaging that appears.
You should call in too.
He was going to try to. He's in Canada, so, and he has a family, and he has other things.
I thought there was like a wizard behind the screen.
My understanding is that it's, so you're techie nerd people. That's in a very loving, like, you know.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
But you're the tech people, and you just want to support nonprofits do what they do by either helping them develop platforms or introducing them to stuff that's already out there. That is what I understood. And so that's why I was like, well, how, like, there are a lot of platforms out there already. Are you just a resource? Like, I fully didn't understand how the help is. And then when we started messaging, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have all these amazing resources. Like, let's collaborate. I want to learn more. So
first off, TechSoup is the parent organization of all of this. So it's TechSoup.org.
Okay.
And if you haven't heard of it, type that into your web browser, because when you become a 501c3 nonprofit, you get vetted by TechSoup for all kinds of donations from all kinds of tech corporations.
Okay.
So you can qualify for discounts for all kinds of things, like computers, wireless hotspots. You can,
Is it for just new nonprofits?
Salesforce is not part of this. Salesforce is their own nonprofit program, but there are CRM programs that you can get discounts on. You can get discounts on Amazon Web Service. You can get discounts, I think you can get
They
discounts
don't
on
explain that well there, because I did look at their website. I did not get that out of it.
So is
this-
it just new ones or any nonprofit?
Any nonprofit.
I'm going to have to look into it.
Yeah, any nonprofit. So, and the reason that I found out about TechSoup is because, you know, I was trying to figure out how to, you know, improve my church's tech. And so when I was going through things, they're like, Google for nonprofits is available for churches, which, you know, a lot of things just aren't. So I was like, okay, let me, you know, sign up. And so I went through TechSoup's process to get our church vetted. And Google for Nonprofits is a free Google Suite.
Yep.
It's
I
free.
just told Bill last night, I'm like, because I got my letter yesterday, I'm like, I'm switching over to all these things that I know are now available to me now that it's fine.
Yeah.
It's great.
And so most nonprofits go at one of two camps. You know, you go Google for nonprofits, and you're operating off of all your Google Docs, Google Sheets, things like that, and your Google dashboard, or it is Microsoft. And you can go either way. Microsoft is available. It's heavily discounted. I don't believe it's free. I wasn't really interested in Microsoft, frankly, so I don't know exactly, but I think when I looked at it, it's heavily discounted, you know, compared to corporate rates. But I don't think it's free. So for what it's worth, you know, it's always worth it. It's always
is the link to
Other programs.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And beyond just offering discounts for it wants to be like, you know, a warehouse for nonprofits,
Or a hub.
A hub to try to go through and connect nonprofits to all kinds of tech services, tech sources, and they vet them. So what you have to do is you have to provide some of your paperwork. You have to like tell your operating budget. You have to, you know, provide your 501c3 number, things like that. And it will take them a couple days to vet you.
It's not bad.
But it's not bad. It's not
It's not
bad.
bad.
Because, you know, that's their primary function. So their staff, you know, especially
And they
in
have
the US.
staff to do it. That's really nice.
They vet people all around the world too. So some of those might take longer. But in the US, it's a pretty fast turnaround.
So do you work for TechSoup?
I do not.
Okay.
I am just strictly an unpaid volunteer person.
Okay.
NetSquared groups are, you know, Eli is a paid, you know, when he watches this, you know, he might disagree with some of my descriptions, but Eli is an employee of TechSoup. Eli also runs the NetSquared group in Vancouver, Canada. And Eli was such a rock star organizer in Vancouver, Canada, that's how he got hired by TechSoup.
And now
Eli is just a really nice guy, super nice guy.
Now what is NetSquared?
NetSquared was founded by TechSoup to be like a local educational resource.
Okay.
So once you get your tech from TechSoup, we're here to help you figure out what the hell to do with it.
Gotcha.
So,
I did
because
not understand any of that.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
yeah, that's
Ergo,
that's-
conversations about
Yeah.
right. That's the basics of it. So, and beyond, you know, just helping out technically, you know, we can do all kinds of other things. It doesn't always only have to revolve around tech, but the primary focus, because tech is so important to the future of any nonprofit, and quite frankly, when you're a founder of a nonprofit, most of them don't want to deal with tech. And TechSoup understands that. Like, this is not how you want to spend your day. Like, you don't want to figure out how to use tech. You want to figure out how to get your program off the ground and how to, you know, build better lives for people, how to help people, how to provide the services that you're trying to do. So what we are here to do is help you figure out how to use your tech better, faster, more efficiently in order.
And that's not an easy process.
Yeah.
No.
And
And because there's so many options nowadays
Right.
too. Like in so many of the chat rooms that I'm in on Facebook, I'm in some different nonprofit groups, and like one of the recurring questions is like, what about the CRM? What about this fundraising platform? Like those are the consistent questions because people are. I mean, there's so many options.
And then you have to hire consultants sometimes
Yeah.
to even figure that out. Or it's
And everyone speaks a different tech language. So yes, some people are PC, some people are Mac, some people love Salesforce, some people want, you know, a HubSpot. Like, but it is a madhouse to siphon through what it all is, and it's like
it's a mass. It can be a massive time suck
Yes.
too. It can be, and if you pick the wrong consultant, you can
Oh,
end
that's
up
easy to
spending
do.
a lot of money
Yeah.
and not getting the results you want.
We
And,
were talking about that. I
right,
didn't even talk about the problems I have with communications consultants, but
Yeah.
that was just for
yeah.
what.
But this, you know, it's something. The first speaker, Dale, that we had come out to talk about Salesforce before Cassie, you know, he was a very he does CRM Salvation Army for the entire Midwest territory.
Wow.
So he's retired now, but really super nice guy. And so some of what he was saying is that, like, you really need to know before you go into Salesforce that setting up Salesforce is expensive. And he was saying, you know, that his cartoon was, you know, free puppies. Salesforce is like free puppies. You know,
that's really funny. That is
and-
exactly, because, you know, they market before they even have the product done.
so.
And my boss loves that, and I'm like, this is such a crock
Yeah.
to me. But free puppies is exactly
Yeah.
right.
So
They cost a lot.
right.
They cost a
They're
lot, and they promise you all these results,
Yeah.
but you don't realize what it takes to. Well, Razor's
And
Edge
so
is that
what
way
we
too.
try to do is find people like Cassie is not a Salesforce employee. If you want to learn about Salesforce, you can watch the video of Cassie from September on the same YouTube channel. You know, she works for a nonprofit called One Goal Graduation that tries to get, you know, underprivileged kids in college. So and you know that she just uses Salesforce and loves Salesforce for her job.
Well, it has the
And-
but she knows exactly what she
she's
needs it
doing,
for,
right.
and that's the thing. If you don't know what it is you want and how you want it, and you have really thought it
It can be
through.
a massive time suck and a huge expense and a big frustration because you may end up with something that doesn't work for you or doesn't work the way you wanted it to.
So I'm actually going the Salesforce route. So now that because it's $36 a month, then with the discount. And actually, they don't even offer the nonprofit platform unless you were 501c3. Because I wanted to get on it like 3 months ago. I'm like, I have so much data already. I have to organize this.
Well,
And they're like,
probably have to get they probably need it for their tax purposes.
probably. Well, because, I mean, you do get a big discount. I mean, $36 is much cheaper than, I mean, because we used it at my last job, and that's how I'm already familiar with it, and I know it will work for what I want it to do. But it is, I mean, $36 is times 12. I mean, it's a chunk for the year. But again, I know it will work for my dynamic, but every charity is different, you know.
Right.
And again, it's the language. What language speaks best to you?
Right.
The computer language, you know, the layout and this and that. So,
Well, and managing the data, you know,
Yeah.
it requires, because I've seen in my organization, it's really easy for them to make a mistake because they haven't thought about from here to here, or, you know, external audiences that they want to get on the, you know, the platform.
yeah.
So, well, shall we talk about your organization now?
Yes.
Let's hear about your mission.
All right. So Love Us Here. We connect charities and donors, helping each get their needs met. So on the charity side, what are your needs? You should be focusing on what your mission is, helping that kid, helping those special needs adults, saving those dolphins. That the other needs that are going on that are sucking your time away, what are those? And Love Is Here wants to help you get those met by matching you with, on the flip side, the donors. And it ranges from financial support to professional services, your lawyer group. How do they want to donate their time? If they want to donate their time, do they want to give a discount on their services? Products, companies always have extra products. An office is moving, they have old furniture. Let's reuse things. It's shifting the resources around instead of letting them go to waste. For the donors, it is to provide them with a very personal experience. Instead of, hey, I gave my $100 to Red Cross, I have no idea where it went to. That is not a bash on Red Cross, but it's
the reality.
It is, you know, and a lot of charities are like that. So our clients on the donor side are those who want to see the end result of what their donation in whatever form it is, how it's making a difference. It's truly for that personal experience. So it's sitting down with both sides, vetting both sides, making sure they're both legit, true people going along with how they advertise, and then making the introduction.
How do you
Free services on both sides. It's kind of a matchmaking service.
Yeah. So How do you, so you do it, how do you market the program in the first place? Is it more word of mouth or is it?
Right now, yes. So I'm finalizing my website and it's the description. So there's a breakdown of 3 things basically. So there's 2 types of donors. You are either you support Love Is Here, your money goes to Love Is Here to help us operate and provide these services for everybody else. So by donating to Love Is Here, you truly are supporting all of these amazing people, both donors and charities. And then there are the donor partners who want to be paired up. If you are interested, maybe you do just want to give money and you don't want to necessarily be involved, but you hear about maybe soccer is your thing. You love soccer, and I hear about a kid in a school who can't quite afford that uniform and the soccer shoes. I have tons of teacher friends and they always have kids in need. That person can be that angel donor, provide the uniform, the shoes for that kid. I could directly connect them, but maybe they don't want to. And for an instance like that, they're not gonna get a tax write-off. So they can donate to Love Is Here. If they've designated the money to go somewhere, 100% will go to whatever they've designated it for. So that's the second one, and then the third one are the causes. Who's in need? Again, it's focused on charities, but again, those individual cases will come up. And that was actually a big personal thing that has happened in my past that I have personal experience with people who would be, Bill's heard the story 10,000 times. So Bill, you're hearing it again. We have a friend who's a doctor and his wife's a dentist, and they go to the Philippines every year, set up a camp for a month, help as many people as they can, all for free. They always come back every year with people that they met that were outside of their specialties. So this one year they came back, they had met a little 14-year-old girl who had fallen 2 years prior, spinal damage, had been bedridden for 2 years. In his assessment of her, she absolutely could have a surgery. He knew a doctor in Manila that she could go to, but it was like 2,000 American dollars. The family is dirt poor. This girl is a huge strain on her family because all she does is lay in bed, all these things. So he'd come back with stories like this all the time. And so he came back this one year, he's like, $2,000 literally will change this girl's life and her whole family's life, And he would always be frustrated. Sam would be frustrated of like, I always hit you guys up. I'm so sorry. Like he'd come to the church that we're part of, and he's like, I know you are giving, but he's like, why isn't there something out there that, like, I'm sure there's more people besides you that would love to be able to truly make a difference in someone's life. That was a light bulb like 8 years ago that went off. So it's instances like that too. So getting tied in with an organization, again, Sam's not even an organization. They just do stuff out of their own money, their time, but they definitely have a need of fulfilling other things that they can't do. So again, it's that individual connection. And again, $2,000 is a big chunk of money. So if someone were just to give it to that girl directly, they don't get that tax write-off. So again, the little benefit of Love Is Here, 100% of it will go to where you designated it. And then you get the benefit, they get the benefit.
So when you thought about this, with all the online stuff,
yes.
What was your thinking?
So this is the personal approach. So like volunteers, you can go on volunteermatch.org. I personally have used it and I show up all nervous because there's no human interaction in the whole setup of it. This is for that personal experience. You're gonna
and their emails that they send to me. I'm like,
it's just, it works for some people. Again, my services aren't going to be for everybody. Yeah. Somebody like to be that anonymous person and just, hey, I gave money, I'm happy. This is for those who want to see the difference, to physically meet that kid that they're making a difference in, whatever it is,
in whatever fashion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for me personally, my family was always like, just go work for a charity. And like a niche of one charity didn't cut it for me. I am interested in 10,000 things in this world. So I want to help I want to help the kids. I want to help the poor. I want to help the elderly, like all of this. And this is my way to be able to do that.
So you're you want to be the tech soup, but more for physical.
Yes.
You want to provide a personal handhold thing.
Yes. Yes.
But
this is why I'm so excited to meet you and to learn about your services, because also in helping the charities, again, maybe they just need that tech support. They don't know, like, to be able to give them resources. I just realized this in organizing the networking groups that I'm in now. I'm like, wait a minute, every time that I tell them about something, I'm like, that's Love Is Here making a connection. It doesn't have to be the donor and the charity, like just resources. That's why I'm going to add resources to our services, because it is, I'm helping them do their job and run the organization, but even by giving them resources.
So for people who were teachers who know of this, okay, let me throw out an example. One of the things that we do is the Veterans Hotline. And our legal director, she said, if there was just a fund where you could go, you could get the $800 that would pay for the person's rent for the veterans and keep them intact. She said, I wish I ran a fund like that.
Yeah.
So, right, exactly. So,
so my goal is to continue to build my networks on both sides, so that when I do hear a charity that's specific to veterans that, hey, they just need this, and I'm like, oh, I got that donor who super wants to help specifically veterans.
And an emergency thing, because, for instance, there is an emergency fund for veterans, but only for those who are qualified with honorable discharge. We just want to be able to serve someone who needs it, and legal aid can do something. Human services can do something, but sometimes you just need something.
And there are so many people out there, honestly, and what my belief is that people want to give, especially when it's something that's close to them. So that's why, you know, of truly sitting down and getting to know you as a donor, what are you interested in? Like, you know, like my oldest sister is mentally handicapped, so I have a huge soft spot for special needs adults. Just meeting me on the street, you're never going to know that, but sitting down, I'm like, oh, you know, and you would so much more passionately give and want to be involved with something that is truly close to your heart. So that's why it's building that relationship.
So how, in terms of your building the case with the times that we're in now, what is the case that you make? Because you know, you certainly have passion. Where is that? What is the case versus someone going to Kickstarter and
they honestly, this makes me mad. I'm like, if that's your, again, I use language a lot because I just as like, if that's your personality, go that way. Like, I'm not forcing anybody to use me. You know?
I'm talking about the case.
For her, one of the reasons people wouldn't go to Kickstarter is to have a successful Kickstarter campaign takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes consistent nurturing on the part of the person. Like GoFundMe and Kickstarter, they require constant effort. And if you like for certain types of things, I think they can be.
Because where I'm trying to go is not to say, hey, well, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. What I'm saying is, what are some of the benefits that you're providing that these other services can't? Yes, it's personal, but you're also in this very dynamic time. How do you even? It makes it even more compelling. What is some of the language that comes to mind to you with that in mind?
Yeah. So personalized is my biggest thing, because as a donor, not only will you get a cause, something that personally fits you, but as Love Is Here, we will respect your wishes as a donor. Part of the get to know you phase is, how do you want to be notified? You know, is this just a Christmas time thing? Is this just quarterly? And fully, it's not a hounding you as a donor at all. We're truly here to give you the service, yes, and to respect your wishes on how you want to give. If you say you're interested in dolphins, I'm never going to hit you up about the dogs. I'm just not. Tell me that you want to learn about dog stuff. It's because I just, at this point, and again, as Bill said, I may be naive on this, but I have complete faith that there are so many people out there ready to get involved that they just haven't. It's intimidating trying to find a place. So at my last job, you know, we'd want to volunteer places, and someone else was in charge of it for a while, and they're like, there's just, I don't know how to pick. Like, again, so there's a service for companies too. Hey, you guys want to do a volunteer day? Tell me what you guys are interested in, you know, and then it's just finding that out. And my goal ultimately is then, so this is the the incubator, this is the starting point, is then having hubs all around the world of Love is Here, because then they can find the awesome charities that are happening in their cities, in their places in the world, and this and that, and then the network amongst all of us just grows and grows and grows, because this is definitely not just a Chicago thing. I already have connections with 2 charities in Africa that I went to 4 years ago and did film work for them to tie back into the film work, because that's another offering to the charities is how can we help you grow? So is it making you a video? Again, and do you need the lawyer? Do you need, what is it that's going to help you get the word out? And then as being a partner as well, that's constant exposure all the time too. We're going to do fun dance videos all the time. Is going to be like our main source of like advertisement, because I just think they're so much fun and people will watch that.
That's funny.
And so
I was thinking about a commercial that does that, but I can't remember what it was for.
I love them. And so then the ideas are endless, because then you do a video that's all about your animal charities, one that's city specific, one's like, there's so many different things you can do. So,
So
what was the original question?
well,
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. What I'm kind of like pushing you on is to
Yeah.
talk about why this service, you know, the personalized that you're a partner. One of the questions that comes to mind is, how do you manage the process of all these nonprofits and personal requests that may come in
Mhm.
versus the matchmaking, because they're like 2 distinct
Mhm.
functions.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, you're building relationships with
Yeah.
donors, but
Yeah.
you're also trying to get the word out with nonprofits,
Yeah.
and as well as maybe there are personal requests,
Yeah.
you know, like the veterans idea, like the students who
Yeah.
needed soccer uniform. How do you like bridge both? Because
Yeah,
they both deserve their own attention.
absolutely.
And how do you communicate how that process is, how each of those processes are managed?
Yeah, that's good. So that's something I'm still figuring out, because right now the organization obviously is just me at this point, you know, and as we go along, because a donor is going to, because they'll want to hear a very clear, succinct process. Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Nonprofits are going to want to hear a very clear, succinct
Yes.
process.
You got my
So-
1, 2, 3 steps. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because for me, it sounds like it can just keep going
Yes.
and keep going. And my concern would be, how do you bring it all back
So
in?
this is why, like,
And
yeah.
just as a suggestion, some of the people that you might want to look at, it's a more narrow focus thing, but it's people that are trying to pick up extra food from vendors and other places and get it delivered to homeless shelters, and other places. It's a big logistical thing,
Yeah.
and they're setting up multiple networks simultaneously. So those are the types of programs
Yeah.
you might want to look at
Yeah,
as
so
a
then there's
model.
structures.
Because
Yeah.
what you're doing is that times, and you're developing. You're not just developing, these tracks. You're developing these tracks, these tracks, and these tracks.
One thing that I feel will save the chaos of it all is that I'm purely here. Love is Here is purely here to make the introduction. I don't have to follow through with, hey, did this happen? Like, I'm the matchmaker. How your date goes is kind of up to you guys, but I'm only gonna tell you guys to go on a date because I think you really super get along. Like, you're both of what you want, you both have type of a thing. So, and as far as, everybody that I meet now.
There's a screening, and I think that
Yes.
communicating how that screening happens at a high level is fine.
Correct. And that's what, as of now, because I definitely have, I've been building my list on both sides for a good long time, even though I just got my 501c3.
Well, it takes a long time to get a 501c3.
Yes. Mine turned around in 3 weeks.
Well,
Good for you.
but
2 weeks, and then I got it a week later.
But you've been thinking about it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking just about the paperwork.
Oh, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
it's a business plan.
I have started that stupid thing so many times, and then I get to one question like, oh, is that going to red flag me? Like, I just didn't know about it. I ended up taking a class at SCORE here in Chicago that they finally answered some questions I had, and I'm like, all right, I feel confident I can do this now.
Yeah.
And I've shared this with Bill. I was so scared because I knew as soon as that came through that it meant that, like, all right, this is serious, Veronica, you got to do it. And I was like so scared because I wasn't quite at that point. Like, again, I had a lot of decompressing to do from my last jobs to transition into this, and like I always feel like things always work out as they should, and it really did. So now I am like on fire, ready to go with all this
Yes,
stuff. So
which is why I'm pushing you to like
Yes.
be much more linear about it.
yes. So with that, so of everybody that I meet with now, I say I'm building up my networks, and I will match you as soon as a match comes along. You know, and that's part of.
So do they invest in you, and then when a match comes along?
There's no money at all.
Okay.
I did totally free services. The
Oh,
only
wow.
money.
That part you didn't.
Yes.
That's a really, because I think that's a compelling point here, is that you really are a free philanthropic.
We do our own fundraising to keep our doors open. This is 100% free services.
But I also think that there is that case then to be made of, you know, why this is a good investment.
Yeah.
Whereas some people may say, and in my organization, we talk about the lawyer needing to be a part of the process because online is not good enough for people to have good legal judgment.
Mm-hmm.
For some, maybe they know what form they want and they can go and do it, but for many, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And so the question I have is, where is that need that you're seeing? Because while personalized service is a nice benefit, the real question is the why is it necessary?
Yeah.
That you really want to be able to make a compelling case for it. And I think that, you know, talking about the fact that there are teachers who have to quietly help students and they've never had a place to go before.
Yeah.
And that this enables the student to be a full participant. And it's these small acts of kindness that can keep the community. And, you know, it's that really the crux of the why that I'm going to push you on. Because you've already gotten very, very excited. Yeah. And you got to bring it back down.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That is very true.
And you know what? I'm a healthy ADHD probably myself.
Yeah.
So I completely relate. I can completely go like that. But I also work with lawyers and have to bring it back and explain to them in ways that they understand. And my question would be is, why is this a compelling cause to give to?
Yeah.
Well, certainly what you're doing is compelling. So I don't want to take away from that.
But the storytelling is huge. Like
the storytelling of why you can realize this was a need is what you really have to get to.
Yeah. I like
because the functionality will be there. It'll be what it's going to be. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But the why of this type of activity is important in these times where people are becoming isolated digitally, whereas you know maybe digital is something that helps what you do, but it's always about the fact that it's personal, that you're using technology to make
and it's to alleviate the overwhelmingness.
And there's
a word of like, hey, I want to volunteer, and you're like, oh, I don't even know where to start.
Well, it's sort of like I had someone who said, who should I be voting for in my organization? Because you give really good legal services. Can you tell me who to vote for? I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, no, I can't tell you who to vote for. But call your reference librarian and start there. But
it is difficult. So at my last job too, like every time we redid the office, like we'd have all this extra furniture, and they're like, "Oh, just throw it away." I'm like, "We're not throwing that away. We'll find a place to donate it to." So it's giving people the resources to reuse their stuff.
But why? But here's the traditional. Our favorite mantra in nonprofit. Yeah, I've been doing this too long. Is the why. Yeah. The why is reallocating resources. Yeah. And why are you the ones to do it? Okay. Because you have such a wide range of things that you can do that I'm like, all right, what are the 2 or 3 things that you really want to do and want to talk about? And then if you want to add it later, that's fine. Yeah. But I think your stronger case is to say, you know, if there were this type of service more often, people would be connected. Yeah. Studies are showing that people are losing their philanthropic and social engagement focus. Yeah. They're not a part of churches anymore. They're not a part of the schools. They're not a part of the government, God knows. And this is a way that will bring people back. And this is why it's so important. And I think really getting to the heart of that case, which I know you'll get to. Yeah. But it will definitely take some legwork.
Yes. And that you can do it better than any computer algorithm can.
That's right. And that algorithm is not the answer for society.
Yeah.
So there is an algorithm behind, but you still like, again, like with Volunteer Match, I want to do something with this, like, but there's personalities of every organization out there. Right. And I'm going to match the personality of the person, not just the needs, you know, because there are more than
the heart of where the person wants to be, but they don't know how to get there.
Yes.
And that this is really a bigger problem than people realize because, you know, not to put down the service, but a lot of people would say why do we need something like this?
Yeah.
Why is this important?
Yeah.
And I think from a marketing perspective, both for wanting to raise money to support it,
Yeah.
and for wanting to appeal to people to invest in these as angels,
Yeah.
and these angel potentials, that you have to get back to the crux of why this is so important. Because I know you want to help all these charities.
I love this. This is
I know you want to help all these
Yeah.
charities, but
Yeah.
why doesn't that?
Yeah.
And I go through the same process. This is not an easy thing. It
Right.
changes over time. The organization evolves.
Yeah.
Society changes. You kind of run to catch up.
Yeah.
It's an endless conversation.
cycle.
It's an
Yeah.
endless cycle. I was just, I'll give you an example. My organization, we're going into our 25th anniversary, and I said to my boss, you have to have a vision. I can't raise money without a vision. And he's a thinker. And I said, and I was going to hire a fundraising consultant, because when you have an anniversary, that's a great time to up the ante.
Yeah.
And
And I got an email.
right.
And she wrote up her profile about somebody who volunteered.
Right. Well, but I think that what I found was that it's really easy for people to tell you how to do things, but getting to the why of the matter is really, and you're right, organization has its own personality. You embrace your personality. My impression of Bill is that, he's a guy who's comfortable with a hammer,
Yeah.
and that's going to be something that he's just going to be a go-to guy, and this is an organization that's going to be a go-to it. Your personality, you're very engaging, extroverted. This is what it's going to build. But to be taken seriously, you're going to have to show all of the thinking that you've done in the crux, in a very kind of foundational way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because otherwise you won't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've been through this.
Yeah.
And it's a painful process. It is not pretty. I had to work on my messaging, document or revision. And basically the crux of what we want to do is ensure that anyone in need of an attorney in Chicago can call us if they want to. Not everybody wants to. And so people are like, well, there's so many people who have legal issues, you can't possibly help them all. No, we're talking about the people who actually want to change and develop an understanding of what they're dealing with legally. Not everybody wants to. And finding a compelling way to talk about that is not easy. So in your case, it's, here we are in a time where people are feeling isolated and they want to get back. There's a way to be connected to other people in the community. And it's not just about giving, it's really about that connection, right?
Yes.
That's really the crux of what you're trying to do.
And that their personality and their skill set aligns with that. And for a lot of people, for these types of meetup groups, another barrier that you have is that people have anxiety. People have social anxiety.
Yes.
People are afraid, and people.
People have become afraid. They don't know who to trust anymore. But the point is that there's a larger problem going on that you are addressing and that you are fixing.
Yes.
And how are you fixing it? What is the overall goal?
Yes.
And is it, maybe there's a number you throw in eventually, but it's not really about the number. It's really about the act. And ensuring that something is basically, nonprofits are an American institution because we didn't have a king to provide services. And it's bringing people back to the core of what it means to be in the community and give back and have an opportunity to do it in a small way or in a large way.
Or something that starts off a small way and grows to a large way.
That's right. And that you have stories of examples and that they become more significant within the context, because everybody is based on outcomes and you have to fight to show why you're valid. And that, I'm one of 40 legal aids. Trust me, they're all stealing whatever I say. If they like it, it becomes their thing. So then I have to redefine myself. So you're competing with things like Kickstarter and GoFundMe, which ironically are becoming places because people have a lot of medical costs. They're becoming, and that's not really.
I have friends who have done that.
Yes, absolutely. But what it shows is that people need help. They need a way to be connected, and that this is a different type of compelling, and this is why it's really important.
I love this. Can I like, once I work on this, can
Yeah,
I run
sure.
stuff by you then? And
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that would
and
be
especially the fact that it's a free service, because I'm like,
Yeah.
so how much are people paying? Because I was
Yeah.
already thinking, all right, in terms of the business model, how is
Yeah.
this different than a nonprofit? Or, you know, there could be a business model for
Yeah.
nonprofits, I don't want to take away from
Yeah.
that. But it sounded like a business to me, and then I realized, okay, no, this has a different core to it.
Yeah.
So you have some legwork to do.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a really fun cause, and I love the idea. I just want to help everybody.
Those who want to be helped, you know. If
Well,
you don't, then that's fine. You
Yeah,
know? And-
but it's
Yeah.
that there's
I
a
think you'll find that once nonprofits know that you're out there
Well,
and that you
that's-
actually deliver,
Yeah.
I think you'll find that you'll have more people.
well, that's why I
Absolutely.
said where does the selection process come in?
Yeah.
Because my concern would be how do you manage?
Yeah.
And I think it will become something you'd have to deal with.
It is, and it's huge. I mean, this is why, like, Salesforce and stuff, I'm like, I don't, because there's so many people, everybody that I start talking to, they're like, oh, let me introduce you to this person. I'm like,
Right.
send me that list, but let me tell you when I want that introduction, because I can't handle, like, I didn't have the CRM in place. I'm like, I want all this data and then lose it. Like, you know, or lose
and
it.
plus the thing is when you start someone's interest, they want to do something now, and the part of the problem with these volunteer services is that they don't really have the capacity.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time with our veterans program. Everyone wants to volunteer with our
Yeah.
veterans program. We don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, how can you help? I'm like, well, you can get out the word, you can give us
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
And people really want a hands-on opportunity. So, and also I think that you have to show where the niches that you're filling, because
Yeah.
there are places where if you want a volunteer day done, it
Yeah.
can be done.
Yeah.
And
I
but
mean,
this,
there's been example, like, I'm working on my website right now, and like, I have a highlight story, you know, a success story. So my niece, 12 years old, she came to me, again, knowing, I started this 6 years ago. She's like, you know places. She had to do a project for Girl Scouts. And she's like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, well, actually, what are, you know, so you're 12 years old, like, what are you saying? She's like, well, I like, you know, hair stuff and makeup and like, and, you know, just girl stuff. I'm like, okay, so girls, you know, and I'm like, and then I knew that she was super into sewing right now. I'm like, so you're sewing all the time right now, right? You know, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm like, when I went to Africa 4 years ago, like, I don't know if you remember me showing you pictures, but like there was all these girls in the orphanages that like one of the groups that we went with brought dolls to one of the orphanages. And I mean, it's these orphanages, I mean, literally what they had on their body was the only thing that was there.
no, I can already imagine.
And so, anyways, long story short, I'm like, what if you make some dolls for these orphanages, you know? She made $150.
Wow.
And because I had been at these orphanages, I knew who the recipients were, and I knew that there was a very large albino population, which has very poor eyesight. And so I'm like, if you could make as much texture as you can, because the dolls that we delivered before were just, I mean, literally like arms and legs, and that was it, you know? And so they embroidered on a face. They made a dress, and then I'm like, in the African culture, everybody has a sarong, whether they wear it on the hair. They do every kind of configuration with it. So they made a dress and a sarong, and then they got delivered over 4th of July. And like the people who delivered it like sent videos, and it's so amazing.
That is
One
so
of
sweet.
one
I
of
love
the videos
creativity.
has a girl feeling the face, like, and it's just so amazing. And they did the dolls in all different colors, from light to dark, so that way they could match the girls. And it was just,
It's beautiful.
but it was a direct impact. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, and so it's not like, oh, I'm going to donate this to the charity that's going to Africa. You're going to see exactly who is receiving
So I
this
think
stuff,
that you need to find a way to get across the creativity that's involved. Because
Yeah.
as someone,
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that word. Yeah.
well,
And
and
really that
they're
personal touch. is-
yes, but it's creativity.
Yeah.
Personal touch doesn't
Doesn't completely.
that sounds like a personal
Yeah.
shopper.
Yeah.
But creativity in giving and really and you know, that kind of idea, because I've had situations
Like
where I had
Kiva
to.
was supposed to be like that when it was first started.
Yeah.
And when I gave to Kiva at that point in time, I was just getting the money every month, you know, and I never really got any kind of personal
Yeah.
story. So
Yeah.
and so I stopped, you
Yeah.
know.
And I personally, like, I don't, people are like, well, you know, how are you gonna become? Like, I don't want to become big where it starts becoming impersonal. I don't want to become geek. I don't want to become World Vision because you lose that personal touch.
No,
you
the
know?
whole point of it is the creativity and connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's the word you want.
Yeah, I like that a
Not
lot.
just personal.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that sounds commercial.
Yeah.
I think part of what, because you come from
Yeah,
a lot of
we need like the thesaurus words. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know
Well,
like the
well,
word.
but
you know.
even for messaging
Yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah.
you would test it. But I would say the less commercial it sounds and the
Yes,
more
yes.
engaged
Yeah.
is it, and it's all business, of course.
So I have a question for you. So I started out using the terminology that, hey, we're a matchmaker. And people were like, no. Like, that's like,
because it's transactional. That's the problem.
But then so like I've changed my language to connecting, but I feel like that is very big and impersonal.
But and it's
Here-
overused. But
Yeah.
but
Here, a big word is curating. I don't know if you like that.
well,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna take time. You're gonna,
Yeah.
you know, impersonal may be the right word.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what your communication with colors
Yeah.
are, and I'm not an expert on messaging at all.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is how it sounds to me,
Yeah.
and that's just an opinion.
Yeah.
And
So what is your opinion on connecting charities and donors or being a matchmaker for charities?
well, I don't think there's anything wrong with describing
Okay.
yourself as a matchmaker of sorts.
Okay.
But I don't think I would lead with that.
Okay.
And I don't know that connecting is the right word either.
Yeah.
But I like what I think when you think about the stories, if you can take a step back and think about what it evokes, and to me, the creativity and the thoughtfulness that you've taken in really making sure that it's customized.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a better word.
Too. Yeah.
Because personal shopper demeans
I
the
like
process.
customized a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, demeans the work and thought that you
Yeah.
put into this. And the thing about true fundraising is if you do it well, it's the idea that you're conceptualizing a vision and matching someone that fits the vision of whatever that thing is. And a lot of times I don't know what it is that I'm going to ask someone for. I just want to hear what is important to them.
Yeah.
And then I try to figure out if what I do matches, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is creating this opportunity to thoughtfully serve a need that maybe others don't see, because you've taken upon yourself to really take a step back and facilitate this philanthropic community in a way that most people don't have time to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you talk about what the worth of this really is, and that's why I'm saying talk about the why,
Yes.
and leave off the adjectives for a little while to really think about the crux of what you're doing.
Okay.
Because
The
the
words might bubble up.
Yeah.
and also in in terms of describing anything that conjures up something that takes away from really what the quality of what it is you're doing is not going to be as helpful. Because I think matchmaker, it's cutesy.
Yeah.
And I think you have to work against that.
That's like the only word though that I'm like, oh, it is taking two parties and
Well,
figuring out.
that's right,
Like that was the only.
that's-
But yeah,
that's
but I
fine when
wasn't
you're
sold
talking-
on that.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, what is the word?
Well, but no. I mean, it's part of, it's, you have a
Yeah.
bubbly personality.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah.
But in terms of laying the foundation of the importance of what you're doing, it does not capture the
Correct.
heaviness
Yeah.
and the thoughtfulness
Yeah.
that you've taken 6 years.
Yeah.
The matchmaker thing, that's just a cute way of referring to it.
Yeah.
And I
That was for lack of a better word. I'm still not. I don't think connection is the right word, but maybe what do we say here?
But I think curated.
Yeah, or like more of like the customized connection or something like that.
Well,
It's like
And even that probably is overused. So
Yeah.
don't worry about those words per
Yeah.
se. Worry about defining the real importance of what it is you're doing.
yes, and then stuff will flow
And
from that.
maybe words will bubble up.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take away from
coin a new
natural.
term.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe you play around with taking two words
Mhm.
and putting them together, and maybe it'll be
I
two.
love- I do that naturally all the time. I love that.
Yeah.
But you may
Yeah.
very well come up like, I don't like it, but like so many of the startups,
Yeah.
you know, like they're all cutesy, like let's leave out the vowels, right? So, there are just things that happen.
Or you could
but-
have a hard
and-
name like I do, CARPLS.
Yeah. Which I looked up, I'm like, what does that stand for?
Coordinated advice and referral program for legal services, obviously. But I just think.
Yeah,
But it's been around for a long time
Yeah,
too, and
yeah,
that's the way
25
people
years.
did things.
Those lawyers, they do it all the
And
time.
when did your tagline "Everyday Justice" come in? Because I
It
don't
was the
remember
20th
that.
anniversary. So
It's really good. I
Yeah.
love it.
yeah,
I
we're
love
probably, but for the 25th
You're
anniversary,
gonna adjust.
I don't know. But I think what I want to be cautious of is I want you to keep that personality, that effervescent quality that you have. And if you
Thank
want to
you.
describe your,
Yeah.
but I also, I want to say, figure out in terms of,
I can't just be in the clouds. I get that, like to bring it a little more grounded.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the effervescence is going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
So don't swallow the effervescence. That's my personality.
Yeah.
And anyone who doesn't like it, screw them.
Yeah.
It's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And so that's, for your donors, you can say, and for your organizations.
Yeah.
This is not a fit for everyone.
Yeah.
This, without saying it in the negative.
Yeah.
This is a specialized fit where I carefully curate these opportunities to match your intention with the need. Yeah. And it's not something that everyday people have a chance to do.
Yeah.
And it's something that I saw and that I saw a need for, and that there's a higher purpose in what we're doing.
Yes. I love it.
And the hope is to replicate this and see it grow.
Yeah.
In a very linear way.
Yeah. Love it.
And the other thing as well for both of you, if you are interested, there is a nonprofit that runs out of here. It's called The Difference Engine, and it's free web applications for qualified nonprofits. So, like CARPLS, you're probably too big.
Yeah, I'm since we're all too controlled.
And what they do is they're trying to generate more diversity in the tech industry. So they're taking, people that come through non-traditional paths, and a lot of people, also people of color that have hard time, getting into the tech industry. So what they're doing is gaining work experience, kind of like what you're doing, a similar program, but for tech. They're getting hands-on experience building web applications for you, and you're getting free services.
And then who's on your board at this point?
It's two friends of mine. And that's like a big thing that is my next step, is truly getting people who are ready to rock and roll and help support us in ways that we need.
So I'm just thinking about who are the kinds of people that I think might, if I was going to just stereotype, the Chicago network, some of these very powerful women business owners. I wonder if somebody like Nago, I might be wrong. It is all based on relationships, but I'm also thinking about people who want to give back in a thoughtful way, who are already established. I mean, that's kind of where my gut goes, who are already in prominent places in the community. One idea that I have is maybe creating a small advisory committee of people to help you think about where you should be thinking about donors and causes. And also that's a chance for you to think about people of color.
Yes.
And I have somebody for you. There's a startup here. It's called Percent Pledge, and I'll get in touch with him. But he's like a financial guy, so it's more, like you can, save, you can put things away, and then, designate who your money is donating to. But I wonder if there isn't a way for him to create your fund for veterans. So he might be a good person, and even if he's not the one,
because I'm not really focused on it.
Right.
I'm
that's okay. But even if he's not the one, that really helps you with it, he might know somebody who can.
Well,
but these are the type, like he's the type of person that I think might get you where you want to go with that fund.
Well, I thought it was a lovely idea. It's not, it's not my focus, and my feeling is, do we really care if they're honorably discharged or not? If the person is in need and they serve this country, help them. And a lot of times they're getting drug problems because of lots of other issues. So let's deal with the issue at hand and not the judgment.
Can you tell me about what you guys do?
Oh yeah, and I never talked about that. So CARPLS is the largest provider of free legal services in the county. We started as the nation's first legal aid hotline And we also work at court-based advice desk. And so people who cannot afford an attorney can call us or see us at the desk, and we'll walk through their problems. And usually they go on to represent themselves, or they find out they don't have a case, or they, whatever the issue is, they find out what the scope is.
Okay.
85% of the time, we are the last stop for them.
Yeah.
15% of the time, we're able to send them to one of our 40 partners. On the veteran side, the state of Illinois established the country's first civil legal aid hotline for veterans and service members and their families because the services are just too siloed. Mm-hmm. So we man that statewide hotline, and then 65% of the time we're able to provide them what assistance we can, and 35% of the time we send it to our partners. Okay. And we too are trying to figure out our elevator speech and our big why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another word that came to mind for all of you now, holistic.
Oh yeah, my God hates that word.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I know, but it
is true.
Yeah, holistic, empowerment, all the words I love and have used since the 90s. Yeah. So, but I agree with you. Comprehensive and I think it's so hard to market what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not an easy process. I've had to develop a thicker messaging skin than I ever had because I have to do everything as an only development person. Though, even with having an assistant, we're still doing all of the external relations for the organization that doesn't really like to be known. Mm-hmm. So it's that culture of the organization.
What is your main funding?
So most of it comes from legal aid funders.
Okay.
And so I raise the annual fund, which is primarily lawyers and law firms. And our big challenge is talking about the importance of addressing legal issues in the greater community. Because people think, it's their fault. Mm-hmm. They don't really think about the fact that the legal issue is really a symptom of whatever issues.
Yeah. The lawyers, are there lawyers specifically that are employees of you, or are they ones that are just donating their time?
No, 95% of what we do is our staff.
Okay.
And they primarily receive the cases come in for consumer law, housing.
There are volunteers on the hotline, but they're supervised by a staff attorney.
Very careful.
I just have some lawyer friends that they're like, we want to give back. We don't know how. And I'm like, I'll put that on my radar.
Yeah. Well, so the Chicago Bar Foundation also just put out a whole new web base to have people sign up to volunteer. And it really is tough to find the right kind of volunteer opportunity, whether it's legal or not. Yeah. Lawyers get even more specialized and anxious about what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah. And so your clients,
for me to make my living right now, it means that I'm not available during the times to answer the hotline, or I'm not available during times to need people to man those desks. And I wish I could be. I also wish I made more money. To donate to more causes.
It'll come. Yeah, and that's how she reached out to me. She's like, you're with CARPLS.
Yeah.
Why don't you come talk?
Yeah. How did you guys meet? Okay.
Well, I've gotten emails from her for a long time. The trivia fundraising.
How did you get involved with them to begin with to start getting the letters?
During the financial crash.
I just did a whole article on this.
Yeah. CARPLS reached out to attorneys, and they're like, we understand that there's a lot of downtime, and if you're interested, we need the help. And so if you want to come out and be a volunteer for us, we'll give you some CLE training credit hours and some other things, and you'll feel better about yourself than just sending out resumes and never getting an answer. Yeah. So I went through it. I got some CLE hours, and it was a good experience.
The good thing about the whole 2008 recession is it knocked a lot of lawyers off their egos, and they realized that they weren't going to have jobs, or that then people graduating weren't going to have jobs, and so it just kind of took out some of the hoopla that they have.
Yeah.
And we could do a better job in terms of reaching out our volunteers. That's a whole nother issue that CARPLS has, but the work that we do for the clients is
nonprofits always have problems.
Oh yeah. I mean, the work we do with the clients is really outstanding, but it's really an organization that just wanted to do its thing and didn't want to bring a lot of attention to itself because it felt the work should speak for itself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work with donors. And I raised more money last year than we ever had, but I did it through an event, and I saw a drop off in the number of donors. And because what you're seeing is people are worried about their assets, particularly people 60 and over. We're used to have a lot of traditional donors, and there's a lot of hot button issues that people want to support right now. And you know, those are all good causes, but it's not going to deal with lots of different issues that need to be covered.
Yeah.
And as a transition, I do have somebody booked for February. It is Dan Ratner. He is the CEO of Public Good Software. And the way they support nonprofits is like anything that's in the media. So, you know, like people.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're interested in hearing from Dan Ratner, come out in February. Everybody's welcome. Yeah. and there will be a live stream, so you can join.
So Bill, you know,
and I'll try to make sure the phone works.
Hey, and Bill, do you have any questions about the stuff we talked about tonight? Because we're about finished. Right?
Yeah, we should probably be wrapping up. But you know, feel free to post anything on the Meetup group. Feel free to post any follow-up questions.
And you know what? Feel free to share my email.
If you
I'll send you a picture of it.
You know, if you want my email, you know, just
ask me. You and I talked a lot through LinkedIn.
So she reached out to me to connect on LinkedIn, and I was trying. There is somebody that you might want to meet here. There's a startup here called Docademia, and we help. Eli helped Nassim because TechSoup not only helps nonprofits but also libraries. She is bringing documentary films, creating a platform for documentary films to bring them into college campus classrooms. You know, to teach people about the world. She's just the loveliest lady.
I have a friend who's
so initially, like this was conceived because I reached out to Nassim and I'm like, can you know, read some names of documentary people locally that might be willing to come out?
I have someone I wanted to have her network with her. She's a librarian by trade, right?
Yeah. Nassim, I don't know that she is, but I can ask her. But she's just a very
I have somebody I want to fix her up. I mean, you know, not fix up, but you know what I mean.
So, and eventually maybe I will get my documentary filmmaker out here because it was going to be more like video focused, like how do you visually tell your nonprofit story? So at some point in time, you know, I'm hoping that I'll pull that one off.
Well,
so like I have, you know, too many things going on with my life, and so sometimes I reach out to people and I don't hear back, and I get knocked off, you know, a train of thought, and you know, I forget to pester them until they, you know, give in.
Yeah,
Tanya,
I was like,
Tanya, yeah, that's because I was like, I'm just gonna. I pester people. This is my strategy. I don't necessarily have the biggest network to draw from for speakers. So whenever somebody, you know, reaches out to me or I find out about somebody, I pretty much either stalk them on LinkedIn or, you know, reach out to them via email.
I called you
relationship and be a speaker.
I definitely want to meet up with you because I think we can collaborate on our resources a lot because our audience I think is very much the same.
So if you know any speakers, you know, feel free. The reason that I like 1871 is because we do have a video monitor. We have, you know, there is free guest Wi-Fi. You know, the password is like in every area of the building. So it's very connected for tech. It should have any adapter for any kind of laptop. And, you know, it's
she asked me, do you want to bring anything? I'm like, right now. I'm very low tech.
So most of them do use the video monitor. So if you actually watch, you know, the live streams that are available on the Linda Stettler YouTube channel. Yeah. So creatively named.
What was your question?
For you as a director of development, because I know people in my nonprofit networking groups would be interested of what are some of your tactics and what is like, because again, fundraising is always the biggest topic of how do I approach things?
Yeah.
would you ever be interested in giving a talk about that? Because again, you have a lot of experience.
I do have a lot of experience. I know that I have a certain bias and a certain niche. So
just simply talking about that and what's worked for you and what hasn't worked
and
for you.
So what I've known, because it's interesting because now I'm such an old hand fundraiser that when I try to bring in a consultant, I'm now able to figure out, oh, this person doesn't
know what they're talking about.
Well, not necessarily they don't know what they're talking about, but they're not really listening to me. Like I had someone with 40 years of experience come and pitch me, and I wouldn't have met with her before. I had her meet with my board leadership and my executive director, and I said, listen, I want to focus on targeted high-level donors and getting us over the hump of lawyers just thinking about the dinner. And so she comes and she pitches a $40,000 part of the $60,000 proposal where she says that we need to overhaul our social media. When I told her, don't pitch that. So she thought she had done this wonderful thing. The board is all into it. And I poked a hole in it immediately and said, we're not hiring her. As a matter of fact, we're just not going to hire anybody. And we're going to focus on the messaging because that's the real problem here. And the board doesn't have an appetite for major gift campaign. So why am I going to force this? And it's, I had another consultant who was supposed to do, a review of everything we're doing. And what she gave me, and it was supposed to be a $10,000 job, for $5,000 was fundraising for dummies. And I said, are you really, this is what, this is not customized. I have 20 years of experience. I can't take this to the board. I think you should go back and see what you can do. So she brought a friend to go over her report. She took 2 months and told my executive director, I stand by this. This is what you need to succeed, which included buying mailing lists, which is not something we should do. If I buy a mailing list, it's from Sullivan's and it's a list of lawyers, which makes sense.
And also with fundraising, November, I meant to get this written up on the board. We're going to have Carolyn Nopar, and she's been a consultant.
I know Carolyn.
Yeah,
she's
fabulous lady.
She also has,
she just started and she's going to come out and talk about it. And so, and she's not exactly, this.
But is it a boot camp for what?
For fundraising.
No, because I was gonna say that's what I think.
That's what she's
like fundraising 101.
Well, quite frankly, she'd be better.
Okay.
I am good at what I do.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of experience, but I'm just gonna give you my spin on it. She actually teaches people. I don't have the patience.
She's a mentor here. That's why.
So
I stalked her.
And then she also has dealt with messaging issues. She's a really lovely lady. If what you really want is a how-to, I would bring her in ahead of time. If what you want is a perspective and what I've seen in the field, then that's a different ballgame.
Which could be one to follow up to her presentation.
Because I mean, when I'm having
and you can look at her website. There's a link to her website for the November meetup. I want to see if I can find her message so I can. You know what? I don't have to find her message because I deleted it. So I cut it and pasted what she told me into the next. Okay.
And she's also involved with an organization called Chicago Women in Philanthropy. It's like a $75.
I'm familiar with them.
It's like $75.
Yep.
I think
I've been to their brunch and I know a good handful of people.
It's really nice. It just lasts too long and it's not well organized.
That's
different. She works with small cohorts in order to provide a very customized experience using the organization's data. They have each nonprofit bring a copy of their donor base so they can segment donors and create separate development plans. Thus, people leave with work being done and a better understanding of their financial situation. And her whole reason, and her whole reason for doing this is because she has like scary stats about how many Illinois nonprofits just are, basically bankrupt. And so her whole goal is to try to build strong nonprofits.
That's amazing.
Well, she's been doing it a long time, and she's a lovely, gracious person. I'm
so come November or watch the live stream.
I'm a little more jaded.
And these are recorded, so you can go to the Linda Stetler YouTube channel.
Oh, good.
And you can watch them. You can watch them.
Everyone definitely knows about my charity now.
But no matter what, like I think people will find this useful, you know, because this was brainstorming.
I don't know
These are
how
like
its to be the
these
director,
are-
I'm sorry.
these
It's
are like-
partly cultural.
No, but it's good, but like, it's interesting, like, I think you
Helpful.
give a really good perspective of, even if you are jaded, but like, you become jaded for a reason, like, what can we change that doesn't happen? Not saying that it's bad that we're
Right, right.
that, but of like, those frustrations are like the old school, we can develop new things, like with mine, like, I wanna treat donors differently. You're not just someone that I'm, you know, give me more, give me more, give me more. It's truly as you as a person, like, again, just different shifts. And I think the experience you've had to know what are the frustrations, what are the bleeding hearts, this and that, and how are you milking someone too much? Like, you know those limits, and that only comes from experience.
Well, and also the fear that when you're asking for money, that it's, you know, just as you said, you were pestering, I just think of this relationship all day. I would never use that word.
Oh, well, then I relationship build by
Yeah,
constantly emailing people.
No.
Like
By
the
reaching out.
name she gave me, the lawyer, you know,
Erica's Fangaras.
so I emailed the info thing. The message line is, would Erica be willing to be a speaker, you know? And then, you know, so she emailed me back today and she's like, I'm really snowed in until October 22nd. Can I get back to you then? And I'm like, if you're willing to come out, you can get back to me whenever you want to.
This is part of her, what she does. She goes out in the community.
Yeah.
And if you could get more people for her, that would be good.
Yeah,
And
again, I'm totally gonna cross promote stuff. that
I
you're
might
doing here.
actually have somebody at the city of Chicago runs a program called One Good Deed. And I had never heard of it until I was doing research for other things. So somebody from the city, they didn't give me their name, but I at least have a phone number. So I'm hoping that maybe in 2019 I can get somebody from that program.
I just
out
thought
in
it
the
might
city.
be a free show. You know, there's that program where like 100 women get together and, you know, a nonprofit pitches them and they decide what cause to give to or how much to give that night. Someone involved with that would be a good person to sort of talk about what you do.
Yeah.
Not
for sure.
necessarily that you'll be going to the organization, or maybe you will.
Yeah.
But it's the whole, you know, developing that whole thing
Yeah.
of the.
What are they called? What are you
You know, I'm not remembering, but there's
Is
all
this the one
kinds
that's
of
a dinner and everybody donates $100? Because
something like that. There's different versions of it.
Okay.
There's one in the African American community. There's one.
I'll see if I can find it on the
There may be
section
one
of
based
1871,
on
'cause
just women. There's one based on, you know, there's
Yeah.
various places, but getting someone's perspective in terms of testing how you talk about what your mission is, I think would be really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna see, like, I'll have to scroll through, but periodically somebody posts in one of the 1871 Slack channels about an organization whose purpose is like everybody, you're in for $100.
And they have a
and yeah, so.
So I'm just thinking that talking to someone who's involved with that, who hears
Would-
pitches,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
would help.
yes, and
Yeah.
then
And even though you're just nonprofits, the other thing that, you know, if you
you know,
listen,
we're not just.
but if you listen to podcasts, it's for-profit businesses, but there is a podcast called The Pitch by Gimlet Media.
Oh,
And
that's
These are
interesting.
for-profit pitches to actual investors. So, you know, obviously your pitch will be slightly different, but it might be helpful. I find it helpful. I also
Well, there's
find that it
also
doesn't make me mad.
that's funny.
So,
There's also the and I think you guys will want to be more established first. Is the SVP Fast Pitch program. It's basically made up of on people who do startups. They help nonprofits. They pick like 8 nonprofits where they team people up and they work with them. And then you have basically like an oratory contest, and it's quite fun to watch actually. Because I did oratory contest.
and we'll see. Like this weekend, I was telling Tanya. This weekend, I'm going to a startup boot camp that's going to be here at 1871 all day. The guy
I think you're just gonna have to live here.
Yeah, well, you know, eventually, when your company hits a certain point, you do live here. Like there are actually laundry facilities here and other types of things. People actually really are here intensively for long periods of time. But that's a story for another time. And if that happens to me, you know, I may not be wanting to meet up anymore.
That's okay.
But he's also from Western Illinois, and so I'll pester him after Saturday, because maybe we can get him to come in and do a little mini startup boot camp for nonprofits, even though it's not quite his wheelhouse. But I'm sure he would have helpful input.
Well,
but it is.
it
I
all
mean, here's the thing, like,
comes across the lines.
but in business is, I mean, Bill and I talk about so like it's a business. It's just where our money goes to is different. You know, I mean, everything else, you should be running your nonprofit exactly like it's a for-profit business. And I'm determined to change the name nonprofit to a for-purpose business.
Oh,
because
like,
why you don't say, "Oh, I'm a profit business." Why do we get called a nonprofit business? Like,
well, I joke
for purpose,
to,
you know,
to reflect some of the non-functionality of it.
yeah.
But it's interesting because I do find in working with another board that sometimes there is a lack of understanding of, this is a nonprofit and there are only so many resources. And so I know you want this report right now, but if we have to deliver the service, we have to make these choices.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, listen, to a nonprofit, you have to let someone know when you can have something ready.
Yeah.
That there has to be a certain, deadline professionalism.
Yeah.
Well, this was
This was
fun.
amazing.
This was a lot of fun.
Bill,
Yeah.
we didn't give you a chance. Did you have any other questions?
I'm good. Fantastic information. Thank you all very
Yeah,
much.
I hope you had fun. Please spread the word that we're actually nice people. That
Well,
we
here's
try to provide-
to pester people.
we try to provide helpful, useful information
Yeah,
to people, and we are trying to do it free of charge. The other big thing that we are trying to pull off is a NetSquared Meetup thing, and since I forced us to be based out of 1871. What I'd like to do is to create what I'm calling it a nonprofit fair, so maybe we'll think of better messaging over time. But the idea is not necessarily for it to be a pitch competition, but to let nonprofits, to have the auditorium. 1871 has a videographer, so we can provide video recording of nonprofits as they get up in front of people. Hopefully we have an audience, and nonprofits can explain their mission, and they can give their asks. So like if they're looking for donations, if they're looking for volunteers, if they're looking for clients, and so the idea is just to provide, especially small to mid-size nonprofits, more exposure than they'd ever have. A video link that they can put.
Well, I
on
was
their
going to say that
website.
could be scary because then it's out there.
Yeah, but what would be amazing? What is it called that they do it here? It's always hosted where they get up, they have 5 minutes, every 20 seconds, like your slide changes. That kind of format, I think, would be amazing. And it doesn't have to be the sales pitch, but it's like, I would love to help you bring this together. Because it could just be like, tell us a story about your thing of like, don't pitch to us, but tell us about what's going on. And with that inspiring message that you want everybody to understand from your thing, because then it's a compelling story to watch instead of like, oh, okay, that's what you do. Okay, and with that slide, do you know what format I'm talking about? What's it called? They do, I've been to like a whole
I'm
bunch
not
of
sure
them.
we should, but when the wisdom people graduate, they get up and they give these presentations, and it's about a 5-minute presentation. For what I'm talking about, you could have a PowerPoint presentation, or if you have some kind of video package, or it doesn't really, overall it wouldn't matter necessarily what year. We should be able to accommodate anything, including just getting up and explaining what it is that you do, or bringing in some of your clients to talk about, and so some of it would be like a description of your mission, and then what it is, how people. So some of it is to bring people who want to volunteer. So this way, if they see people, if they see who they are, they see the mission.
I would say that you have to have there has to be what the purpose is really clear.
Format and the format. Yeah, I mean, well, it would be
So
exposure.
It's the idea, to just bring people together, to give them exposure, and to hopefully, we have a lot of businesses here that are building things to support nonprofits. So I'm kind of hoping that we can bring people together you know, bring nonprofits together, maybe bring some donors together, and, you know, also just tell like the general public. And we have people here that love to participate in hackathons. So if people need like some kind of specific tech app made for them, you know, these are people that might be able to do that for you for free. So like there's all kinds of things. There are all kinds of people that we can bring together here at 1871, because it's a very unusual space. So
and you have the link to it, which is awesome.
We're working on this. I was hoping that we could do it this November to kind of coordinate with Giving Tuesday. I think that's a little too ambitious because we're not far enough along. Like this is one of those things.
And honestly, I feel like
longer.
I think
you
know get anything burnt out, but
it's kind of the idea.
Oh, I hate Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, I have zero desire, like something in either, I wouldn't say January because everyone's burnt out from the holidays, something like starting February. And I think that would give us enough time to get a lot of awesome traction for it too, you know? To build the clients who are going to be speaking and to build the audience.
So, like, that's the overall concept. And it can be whittled down, scaled, you know, up or down.
I love the idea of bringing these places that want to do stuff for nonprofits in a room to think, you know, to have that kind of interesting exchange. This is what Forefront does a lot of times with funders and nonprofits. And
so I also find it energizing to talk to people like you all. Just because, you know, like it's a very positive experience. It's a positive interaction.
I think it would be
cool. They really want to, you know, make the city better, make people's lives better. You know, like
I think there could be two events. One could be the charities get up and talk. So the highlight charities night, and then highlight vendors, or I don't know what name you want to call them, but people who want to support your charity. So the tech people, like, have them come up and do their little
pitch on
what they do.
There's got to be a whole wide, interesting range of what they do. And we just say, hey, listen, guys, this is a safe space. No one will be asking you for money personally today. Just as you will not be pitching your service today. It's a chance
providing information.
Yeah, it's just a chance for you guys to exchange ideas and hear about what the different issues are.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Okay,
cool.
So, you know, you guys know how to contact me.
Yeah.
And if you have suggestions for speakers, or, you know, obviously,
well, I think
I'm
perfectly
willing to harass people and make them into mission until they agree.
Yeah, she went from pestering to, like, you know, force.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you so much. Thank you for letting me just kind of throw out my opinions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
All right,
and the laptop battery is still going.
Wow.
I didn't plug in my charger.
Bye, Eli.
Bye, Bill.
Bye, everybody.
Nice meeting you.
Come out in November.
Bill, I'll shoot you a picture of business cards. Oh,